Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Plotlines. I'm your host, Connor, and today I'm going to be going over a review of, or giving my review of Andrew Klavan's When Christmas Comes. So, I don't know if any of you saw this earlier, but I did release an episode on this subject a couple days like earlier in the week, and the audio was messed up, so hopefully the audio is working. So I tried multiple times to get this right, but the audio wasn't working multiple times, and I just decided I'm going to do the first part live, and then the part that was still good from the original, I'm just going to have that on the back end. So that's my plan. If any questions, just let me know. Okay, I'm gonna begin. So When Christmas Comes came out a couple years ago, so it's a little late, as well as tomorrow, or not tomorrow. It's currently Lent, so it's a little seasonally late, but you don't have to read Christmas When Christmas Comes during Christmas. I read it over Christmas tide, so it made sense for me at the time. But I think, it doesn't really matter what time period you're reading it. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and it really captivates you and makes you focus on a lot of interesting topics. It's a mystery novel. It's very short, so if you're a very fast reader, then it shouldn't be a problem for you whatsoever. Uh, Andrew Klavan is a very important author for our day. You might see him regarding his politics, working with the Daily Wire and that sort of thing. But, he's also had a career uh, in Hollywood, writing books. He was basically canceled from Hollywood because of his opinions. He also converted from Judaism to Christianity, so he is a Protestant now. I think he's an Anglican or Episcopalian of some sort. That's his background, and I think his writing has changed over time, though I'm not as familiar with his older writings, though he has talked about it previously on his podcast that he has changed a lot. So Christmas Comes has a Christmas backdrop, and it's just a backdrop. It's not incredibly crucial to the story, though it is a beautiful aspect of the story. I will have a link in the description so people can get a copy, because I do recommend reading it. I will be giving a quick review, and hopefully not spoiling much, and then we'll get into spoilers, and I will tell you spoiler warning before, so you can click off before you get spoiled. I know I'm sometimes bad at that with older books, but this is a recent book, so I don't expect everyone to be watching this to have already, read it necessarily. So Cameron Winter is an English professor who basically gets called to investigate crimes. The crime at hand is that a woman has been murdered, and it's very strange because you go back and forth whether or not the person who did, or did this person do it, did they not, because it seems very obvious that a certain person committed this murder because they basically admitted it. And um this person is a ranger. And Cameron, while he's investigating this story, he is going to a psychiatrist, and he's telling the stories about his past and his experience with Christmas in the past. He's really focused on that. He tells about how he grew up as amongst rich atheists. His parents were elitists, and he hated his childhood except for when he was able to celebrate Christmas, because he celebrated Christmas with his nanny and her family. He was basically shipped off because I think the original reason was that his parents got invited to a a British party amongst royalty and that sort of thing, and they couldn't help themselves because they had no nobility themselves, but they wanted to be noble, so that's just what happens. Now, so it's basically uh he goes to spend Christmas with the ideal Christmas family. At least this is just the purpose of the book. They they are this very German family. I think Andrew Klavan specifically makes them German because a lot of Christmas traditions come from Germany. A lot of our Christmas traditions originate from Queen Victoria and her husband Albert, and really from Albert, and he was a German prince. So a lot of these traditions come from that. There's even ghost stories, and that sort of thing integrated into the story. Though what's interesting is it seems like these Germans are from East Germany before the Cold War ended, and they seem more described as like Bavarians. So that's a bit odd. So Sweet Haven is where the murder takes place. It's this idealistic Christmas town where pretty much all the men are army rangers, and it's very well ordered and beautiful and festive, and all these people have the same ideals, and basically everyone has each other's backs. And Cameron comes into the situation disillusioned with his past. He is depressed. He wishes this could be the ideal. If you know anything about melancholics, he seems to be very much one of those. So if you're a melancholic, I think it works really well. Especially it worked for me. It really made me connect with the character. And he doesn't really seem to have much of a religion either. He's just very withdrawn, I guess that would be probably the best way. He's very much an outsider looking in, dealing with all the twists and turns. Yeah. And it has elements of a thriller because Andrew Klavan is a thriller writer, just as the trilogy of the Another Kingdom that Klavan also wrote, which was a fantasy novel. It also is a sort of a thriller as well in many elements. But this story isn't a fantasy story by any stretch of the imagination. This book is written in third person perspective, which I like a lot better than in Another Kingdom. It was written in first person perspective. So you have that as well. But he does have a little bit of first person perspective, but it works because it's all in quotes. He's telling the story of his backstory to the therapist. So, and I think that worked out pretty well. The main it That's not necessarily the main part of the story. The main part of the story is the murder, and both get you both captivate you, and that you kind of break up between a couple chapters. You'll have the flashback story, and then you'll have the present day story, and that can be a little jarring at first, but it works really well. Okay, now we're going to get into spoilers. So Cameron Winter had a love affair with one of his students, which is really weird. And this student, they broke off their relationship. So he's a professor, she's a college student, or was. Now she's married and a lawyer, and she's the one who calls him in to figure out what happened. And she's married to a former military officer who's going through PTSD. We don't really see him at all. He's off. He must be doing something else. But she is defending this ranger who is beloved by the town and has supposedly killed this beautiful woman who he was in love with. And she was the librarian at his daughter's school. And he has confessed that he has done this. So basically, he's called in to investigate because this lawyer wants to somehow prove that this man didn't do it. And so Cameron is able to imagine these events in his head. He gets a little bit of sort of the story. People tell him the facts that happened or from their perspective, and then he's able to fill in the gaps because he's just that creative, I guess. That's probably the best way to describe it. He's very creative, and that's kind of the main element. He's very creative. He's an English professor, and he's able to come up with the ideas on how things have happened. Okay. And then uh he's also probably a spy. I can't remember if it's outwardly said or if it's just hinted at. He seems to be definitely a spy. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my the second half of this episode that I already recorded. So hopefully you all enjoy. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Anyways, his connection with this attorney was that she was a student of his, and it seems like all the different people that he's been dating or had affairs with or whatever have just not been right. He's just, he's he's just enjoying the pleasures of life but not really enjoying them because they're hollow, or they're hallowed when when they're not really in the proper situation. He is in love with the idea of someone else. He's in love with this girl, Charlotte, as I discussed, that her family was the family he stayed with when he was a kid over Christmas. He fell in love with her. He showed that affection to her, and she was too old for him at the time. And then then she learned that her father had basically killed her or gotten her mother killed. I can't remember if he literally killed her or just got her killed in the communist state. So there's a lot of things going on here. Charlotte is the girl. She is basically the perfect ideal German woman that he would like to marry in the future and, have kids with, and, she would take care of him. She took care of him when they were younger as well. But her father came from East Germany. And so basically he was part of the Stasi, I think. So he was part of secret police, and he did a lot of bad things to survive. And eventually his daughter Charlotte learns about that and feels completely betrayed, and she falls into a terrible situation where she goes off to college and basically buys all the woke crap, and falls into that. She destroys her beauty. She dresses poorly. She's no longer this perfect housewife material, which the Cameron is looking for. And the ideal is gone. Basically, the ideal was possibly going to Cameron was possibly going to get this ideal, and it is ripped away from him, and it's heartbreaking. Anyways, she's dating this terrible false intellectual chump who just basically she dates and they live together, and it just shows how you can kind of fall into these people fall into these modern tropes. And it's definitely showed in a bad light, so I appreciate that. Clavin's really good at that. I do think sometimes he's mixed on certain moral issues, but he said he does understand what the ideal is, which I understand and I appreciate that. uh he does he's not my perfect thinker, but I think he's a lot better than most, and that's something that's decent in today's world, I think. Anyways, so we got Charlotte. Charlotte was Cameron's ideal, and she's basically taken away from him, and he falls back into sort of the world, and that's shown through his love affairs with his students or with others. We're not really sure who else he's dated or whatever, but that's shown with the attorney. This attorney definitely fell in love with Cameron, but he didn't love her because he loved Charlotte, and but Charlotte wasn't available for him, and Charlotte was no longer the Charlotte that he knew. So that's Cameron's backstory. He is depressed about this. He is melancholic. He is telling this story to a therapist, and that's sort of how we get the story, how we learn about this. So that's kind of part of the story. And then back to sort of the investigations. Basically, uh, Jennifer Dean is the woman that was murdered by Travis Blake. Travis Blake's the ranger. We learned that Travis was very cold and very broken because his family was destroyed. His father lost all their money. His wife uh, committed suicide while dealing with postpartum depression after having their child. Their child is basically lonely and separated emotionally from her father because her father is emotionally separated from her. And Jennifer and Travis's sister goes off and becomes a lesbian, and goes off and becomes woke and becomes a leftist. So the whole family is destroyed. Jennifer Dean comes in and basically fixes a lot of that. She gives hope to Travis. She falls in love with Travis. She helps the daughter come out and not be so uh, quiet. Helps her come out of her shell, kind of, and brings the two together, and they kind of are close to happy family type of situation. But we learned that someone's been chasing her, and then supposedly Travis kills her in because she won't tell him who's chasing her or who's after her and that sort of thing. Now, Cameron buys this. He doesn't really show his opinion about this. The attorney doesn't really buy this story, but no one's really telling them any information that could help them. Eventually, they learn that Jennifer Dean is not who she says she was. She was under witness protection in the witness protection program. She was originally a woman who was taken from Ukraine. Basically, she was human trafficked, forced to marry the son of a Russian mob boss. She eventually escapes after recording. I think it's recording. Uh, Basically, things to get the mob in trouble. She has a helper in that one of the mobsters helps her escape, and she goes into witness protection program. Unfortunately, one of the marshals gets obsessed with her because she's so beautiful that almost every man gets obsessed with her in some way. Anyways, this happens. This marshal gets obsessed with her and threatens to out her. She escapes from the marshal to Sweet Haven, takes up as Jennifer Dean, and now you're up to speed. Now, the marshal eventually tracks her down, threatens to out her again to the Russians, and we learn that there was a plan. Travis did not kill her. Travis killed the Travis killed who is it? Who is it? Travis killed the marshal and pretended to and Jennifer was able to escape, yeah. Was able to escape to a tower in the outskirts of the town. Now, Cameron figures this out because he learns of who the marshal is, tracks him down, but he's not there. And then this Russian comes in, attacks him, and eventually realizes that this Russian isn't uh, wasn't against Jennifer Dean, but was helping her. And he figures out that Travis and Travis wouldn't kill her, but this marshal doesn't exist anymore. He must be dead. Then the trial happens, and uh, Travis admits to killing her, and then he's sentenced to prison. And Cameron figures out where Jennifer is staying, finds her, learns the whole story. Interesting enough, Jennifer also has a devotion to Our Lady, which is great to know. And Travis shows up and asks Cameron, to give them a head start to get away. And Cameron's not going to out them. Basically, the whole town, except for, well, not the whole town, but a lot of members of the town, like the police, helped Travis escape. They knew that this wasn't the situation, and they were working together because the system had failed, and they had to take things into their own hands to kind of keep Jennifer safe. And everyone believed in Travis and supported him, so they made it look like he was going to jail, but really they helped him escape. And basically, it was going to take a while for anybody to notice that this had happened. So, interesting enough, the attorney thinks she's lost and all that stuff and that sort of thing, but really she won. Anyways, it's just such a good story. I really like, if you're just not if you haven't read the book but you're listen to this, I feel bad, because you really should go read the book. Even with this, I think you should. It's a really great story. Now, Andrew Klavan does a great job of making you feel for people that have, sort of odd situations. The Cameron is looking for redemption. He doesn't really get it. He doesn't know where to get it. I think it's interesting because, he's not looking at it from any religious perspective. He has no way of getting redemption in that way, because he's just an atheist. He grew up knowing nothing about God, knowing nothing, just sort of seeing this other family that works much better than his, uh, through sort of just seeing them through Christmas, and then wanting a family like that of his own in the future, and then having those dreams dashed, and now he's just fallen in on himself, and now he's more uh taking. He's taking. He's not giving of himself. He seems to need to find a way to find forgiveness, because he of his possible spy days where he killed a lot of people, and he seems like he's very depressed about that, as well as his love life. Anyways, it just seems like Cameron has a lot to learn, and I wonder if in the future more of these stories come out. Maybe he might find that in the future. I don't know. We'll See, I think this character is very interesting. It reminds me a lot of John Reese from Person of Interest, very much so. Lost love, um, as well as guilt of stuff he's done in the past and trying to find a purpose. This English professor, Cameron, doesn't seem to have purpose. So let me know what you think about my review. Let me know what you think of the book. Please, let's help support Andrew Klavan's work, especially his writing. I know people probably listen to his podcast a lot, The Andrew Klavan Show, but I think his writing, his storytelling is extremely important. I hope some of his books get made into movies or or TV shows or something like that by the Daily Wire. That would be pretty cool. Daily Wire, get on that. So, thank you all for watching. Please like. Okay, everyone, I'm back. So yeah, so that was I had to do it that way because of technical difficulties and that sort of thing. Um, so John, not real name, had some questions about sort of Andrew Klavan's work and stuff like that. I really do value his writing. As I've said, he's not a Catholic. He doesn't have that element to him. Unfortunately, though, he is a Christian, and he is a believer, and he does have sort of a lot. He has some good things to add. Yeah, I am live. I just was also um I had to do the first half live, and then the second part had recorded. Sorry for anyone who was confused. But yeah, no, it does seem like I am it did seem like a premiere. But yeah, if anybody else has any more questions, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, please join our Discord. It would be really awesome for more people to join the Discord. I might have to update the link. Just let me know if you leave a comment below. I can just uh, add the link to that after the show. So just let me know if you need that. I can also hold on. I could just add the link right now into the comments section. So it would just be great because I'm going to be doing live shows, only on the Discord, and you're not going to want to miss that. And it's going to be more interactive. So here's the link. I have that in the. So thank you all for watching. Again, any questions, leave them below. I am also going to be doing a sort of a political analysis of the book because I think there's a lot of political aspects to what we can take away from, messaging and that sort of thing. So if you want more of that, make sure you like this video. So I know you want to see more of this. Please feel free to leave a comment saying that you want to hear that as well. Um, but anyway, so this is going to be a new thing. Every week or every weekday, I'm going to have a 11 a.m. Either stream or episode. It's either going to be premiering or it's going to be live. So that's going to be great. Yeah, it's definitely anti-communism. So thank you all for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a great Friday. Bye.